My guest today is Stephanie Peirucci. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Beautifully. It's perfect.
And Stephanie just froze again.
I wonder if it has to do with the blizzard.
Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay. I can't see you. So your audio, your video froze. Okay, but you can hear me.
My video froze. Okay. You know, Elaine, I live at about 7,000 feet. I'm way high up in the mountains, and right now we are experiencing a hailstorm, and I wonder if this is all my fault.
Okay, so let's give it a try for a couple minutes, and if we can't keep going, then we'll just stop and reschedule. But so welcome. So I'm really glad to have you here, Stephanie. I am Elaine Gardner. I am a clinical nutritionist and a holistic health educator. Before we get started today, I wanted to read something that I think is a perfect introduction. I just pulled a card from my Mermaid Tarot deck, and it says, ideas, thoughts, and beliefs aren't often something we think about owning, yet we spend an awful amount of energy building our lives around the ideas and beliefs of others. The Seven of Swords asks you to think about what ideas, thoughts, and beliefs serve you. Which ones add to your life and the lives of those around you? Which ones should you give back? Not everything is ours, and not everything should be kept. Take what you need and leave the rest for someone who will benefit from it.
Ooh.
It's a perfect introduction to what we're going to talk about today. And of course, you know, we're in the midst of the coronavirus and the fear and the panic. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that. And you'll be sharing with us the science and the manifestation behind that, so that people, which I really think is going to help people, serve people with their mindset and moving out of fear and taking back control of their health and their mindset and their lives. And because there's so much economic uncertainty in what we're going through as well. So we all need all the tools that we can get. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you for having me.
Share with us about, you know, how you got into what you're doing now. What has been your path?
Wow, beautiful question. Thank you. I grew up with just below the poverty line, or just above the poverty line, maybe just, you know, really feeling a fear and anxiety, a tension growing up around money and wealth. So after college, which was a really fun experience. I got basically a useless degree in French, but it was fantastic. I traveled with the Doctors Without Borders and Amnesty International, and that was fun. But I ended up going into finance with my French degree, which was weird.
Okay.
And that was 2006. I became obsessed with figuring out how rich people got rich because I never grew up around rich people. And wouldn't you know, 100% of these people were entrepreneurs. You know, about 100% of them were not receiving a draw or a paycheck. And it occurred to me that people don't get rich when someone else is writing their paycheck. You get rich when you write your own paycheck. So 4 years after I went into financial coaching, I went into entrepreneurship full-time, which was very scary. My first year I made $7,000. And I had a few hard years in between, but I will never look back. I absolutely love being able to write my own paychecks, for better or worse, develop lots of different streams of income, all based off helping people. And so I feel like I've really developed the system or the equation in my life where the more people I help, the more money I make. And that's where that's what brought me into the manifestation coaching.
Awesome. I want to make a point that it's such an interesting time to bring up entrepreneurship because there's so much uncertainty right now. A lot of people, millions of people literally have lost their jobs. And I believe those statistics are just here in the United States. So who knows what even globally the impact that we've had. And you know, so many people have the mindset that is what they do. They go to college, they get the job, they get the paycheck. And for a lot of people, that's just been completely ripped out from underneath them. And we're
exactly.
And we have no idea. Yes, the economy will rebound, but it's going to be different. And there's no one alive, I believe, that can actually accurately predict what that's going to look like. And so if if you've ever thought about going into business for yourself and just, you know, thought you didn't have what it takes, or that your idea won't make money, I guarantee if you have an idea about something, it's probably something that comes to you with ease, but that other people could benefit from and that you could earn money off of. So if you've ever considered that, now's the perfect time to be thinking about what skills do I have? How can I help people? And a lot of people are going to need help as well. So really, really perfect time, potential
Yes.
opportunity going on right now in the midst of all the craziness and fear and panic and job loss.
And what's really hard for me is I would say up until maybe, you know, about 3 weeks ago, up until 3 weeks ago, I said, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And I don't believe it is, but I think there's ways to be an entrepreneur and ways to even own a job. And it's okay to do either one. And what I mean by own a job is some people are like yoga studio owners. They're not really entrepreneurs necessarily. A lot of them own a job. They still have to show up every day at, 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock for their classes. There's some structure. And I think it's important that people, especially right now when we're kind of stuck at home going, what do I do? Oh my God, there's so many opportunities. And a lot of people get paralyzed because they don't focus on one thing. And I think for entrepreneurs, the reason 80% of entrepreneurs fail in the first 8 months, if you can believe that. And this has been written all over every bestseller. Maybe 2 years ago, someone came out with this. 80% of new businesses fail within the first 8 months. And I think a lot of it is because people, there's actually too much to do. And they don't focus on one thing. So if my clients are great at Facebook, like you're doing lives on Facebook, you're using Facebook the way it's meant to be used. But if you're spending 2 hours a day on Instagram, liking photos and reposting stuff and commenting and private messaging, your business is probably going to get tethered, because it's not necessarily better to do all the things. And I think a lot of people fail simply because they're trying to be too good. Simplicity in entrepreneurship, get good at one funnel, one channel, one business, one type of client, one type of service, one product. And so for me, that's the big problem is I have 3 businesses, and one of them I have someone else running. One of them I take for sushi money. I just do it part-time. And the other one, I go full on. When I wake up, it's what I think about. When I go to bed, it's probably what I'm working on till 2 a.m. And just focusing on one thing is, I think, what a lot of people miss out on, particularly in my experience, women, because primarily we're the gatherers. And we know, as Alison Armstrong says, we know which meadow to go to, which bush has the poison berries, which one has the good berries, what time of year they're good, which ones are the best, depending on what side the sun is on, and yada, yada, yada. Women would burn the baby with the dinner if we were not multitaskers. And what's brilliant about women as entrepreneurs is we can dabble in more things at once, but we shouldn't always do that necessarily.
Yeah. And I actually started my clinical nutrition practice in 2004. So I've been in the entrepreneurial space for quite some time, and I never intended to go into business on my own before that. But I had massive struggles with my health, and I figured out how to get well, and it wasn't an option for me not to share that with other people. So there's massive stumbling blocks along the way. But I want to say that the technology has shifted so dramatically in the services that are available. So now it's easier than ever to access people online, to sell things online, to do things like what we're doing right now, to hire mentors, to hire coaches, to help you walk you through take you through the steps that you need to take. So there's never been an easier time as far as having the services, having the technology in place in order to do that. So
oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. It's easy, easier. I remember, I'll just say 2 words: cold calling.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Telemarketers and oh my goodness. Yeah. And actually, you and I have never met physically in person, but we were in a biointegration workshop together for months, and we were all we're different parts of the United States, and we were all meeting in Zoom meetings like this. And that's how we've gotten to know each other. So the ability to connect with people all over the world, it's shrinking. I mean, it can be going a little bit crazy right now where everybody's trying to access this technology, but you can reach people that way and get to know people, and you can collaborate with people, and there are groups and organizations. And so just so much opportunity for connection and collaboration that just weren't available. Like, we didn't have these things when I was growing up. I was born in 1966. We didn't have cell phones. There was no computers. There was no internet, all of this stuff. I could have never done the things that I do now back then. It just wasn't an option.
I love your adaptability, because a lot of people, especially with you, you're in, medicine, health coaching, you're a clinical nutritionist. It would be really easy for you to go into a traditional way of running your business, because people have been doing what you do for hundreds of years. You read about it in old English novels, you visit the medicine woman or the medicine man and whatever. And for you to have that adaptability is what's helping you to rise, and be kind of the cream of the crop. Right now, one of my clients is actually creating, this is really fun. I'm not going to give her name, but she's creating a survival guide for Airbnb hosts during COVID.
Oh, perfect.
Do you know what her profession is? She's a psychiatrist. She's a medical doctor. And she's like, no one's coming into my office right now. I can do a lot of my work online, but my practice has been face-to-face. I have to shift. I have to adapt. I have to pivot. She's like, yeah. But before I pivot my practice, I want to cash in on this Airbnb thing, because my Airbnb is booked solid, because I knew how to sell how clean it is, the air filters, and she said, I'm marketing it to people who need an office space. I'm marketing it to husbands who are like, I can't be around my kids while I work, or
yeah.
Genius.
Saw an opportunity where one of my guests last week actually has as part of her income stream is Airbnb, and she lives in a place where they do a lot of conferences. So she has lost a massive amount of money from her Airbnb business because all the conferences have been canceled. Yeah. So interesting, there's many sides to look at things. So the one thing that you mentioned, you have several different businesses, and the one that is you're kind of living, sleeping, waking, dreaming, all your passion goes into. I'd like to hear about that.
So I experienced some sexual assault 18 months ago. That's why you and I met, because I went into the biointegration and somatic awareness group because I was killing myself. I started smoking cigarettes. I was drinking way too much wine. I went from being vegan, alcohol free since 2013. I went, and after the assault, I'm not a young woman. Like, I didn't think it could happen to me. That's all. I just was like, what? How did it was a shock. It was the most shocking thing I think that's ever happened to me. I remember that Twilight Zone feeling, but unfortunately I didn't have the right teachers and mentors and guides in my life to help me through it. And I didn't take responsibility for my own mental health. And so what happened is I broke my foot twice. I smashed my right toe, smashed. I mean, it was unbelievable. Slipped a disc in my back. I tore my cornea so many times that it still tears. All on the right side, mind you, which is interesting. The masculine side. And I read a Facebook post from one of my friends, and she said, hey, I'm working with the Neurofunctional Institute. And I was like, well, that sounds smart. I'm working with the Neurofunctional Institute, and we just had another young man who was a quadriplegic start to walk again. And she said, we did it through mental intention. And I said, huh, if they can do that, what can they do for me? And so I walked into the office. I was able to secure a meeting with the president of the Neurofunctional Institute. Her name is Lauren Maloney Gepfert, and I still am, my heart's so tender. And she kind of took me under her wing, and her executive director became my mentor. And they taught me everything they knew about healing through mental intention. There was a moment about 15 months ago where someone delivered, I guess someone from the court delivered a stack of papers to my door. And in that moment, I thought my son was going to get taken from me because of what had happened in my home. And just a year later, not even a year, my former husband and I were spending Thanksgiving together. And I credit the miracle of my body healing. I credit the miracle of going back into great health and better than before. I credit the miracle of meeting people like you, Ty and Cole, Clayton, Ron, even Jen. I actually am talking to Jen right after this, but people from our little tribe have become some of my dearest friends in the world. I talk to, I talk or text Ron every single, day almost. I talk or text Clayton every week. And, we've developed this tribe of people who have supported one another in some healing, some really, really tough stuff. But more importantly, after the assault, I didn't just have, my body was failing, but once I started working with these neuroplastic experts, miraculously, I was back in yoga doing toe stands on my broken foot, like a tree pose, and then down into like a toe stand in 5 days. I had a miraculous healing, and not just in my body, but my relationship with my co-parent miraculously healed. And more importantly, on the subject of money, I stopped working so hard in my business, and I really started to work in a more inspired way in my entire life. So what I uncovered was that the same principles of healing through mental intention that the Neurofunctional Institute was using to heal quadriplegics and people with spinal cord injuries, you can use to heal past trauma, depression, money blocks, limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging behaviors. There's been people, they've worked with people with eating disorders and smoking and alcoholism. Lauren works with CEOs and high, kind of like high producing, really, really executive level folks who want to scale businesses, but they have limiting beliefs or blocks in their heads. So in the absolute pit of like despair and depression, and I'm a failure, I uncovered something that the world needs to know about, but no one knew about it because they were just kind of like, they'd done the Today Show and they had, hundreds and hundreds of people call and say, I want to work with you. And then they didn't have the structure or the marketing funnel, right? They didn't have the online classes. They didn't have any way to teach people what they were doing, So even though they're getting all this press and all this notoriety, no one can experience the healing unless you drive to Colorado and get in the pool where they were working with their quadriplegic and spinal cord injury patients. The reason they're situated in Colorado, coincidentally, is because so many people are skiing and running into trees and get paralyzed. And there's a lot of money. They can afford to get the best healers on the planet, right? To get well. My kid ran into a tree, help him. I'll pay you whatever it takes. That's what happens in Aspen. So we have actually another company called Bridging Bionics. We have the Neurofunctional Institute, but here in Aspen, we have a plethora of healers who heal through mental intention, which is manifestation, basically. The Buddha said, what we think we become, what we imagine we create. And really this is the science, because these people are all scientists, but it's the science of what the Buddha said so long ago: your thoughts create your reality.
Great. So I just want to pause for a second and recap. So you had a trauma in your life, a trauma that was more mental and emotional that you didn't know how to deal with, and you were doing some self-soothing activities, changing your diet in an unhealthy way, alcohol, smoking, things like that, which is really, really common and probably, I shouldn't say probably, potentially one thing that may lead to an addiction, because that numbs people when they've experienced something traumatic that they don't have a tool to get over, and then they can kind of forget about where they came from, where the trauma was, and just keep stuck in this lifestyle that they have created to be numb and coping.
Yeah.
And then it became a physical health issue for you because you were declining and you were getting injured. So you were also kind of, your health was declining, which was creating you more susceptibility to injury. But it was probably parts of the universe in your body trying to give you a wake-up call, like, we're getting into trouble here, you need to start paying attention. And then because you were open to it on some level, even if you weren't aware that you heard about this thing, you knew that you needed help, and you just started exploring that pathway and implementing and trying. And I think that's a really typical pathway for people. I went through a similar thing where I struggled with my health for a really long time. And I just got really fed up with it. And I was probably doing some self-destructive things, but not intentionally. And I just real honestly didn't know. I was very young. But I got really tired of the way I was feeling. I had a really great life, and I made a commitment to get well. And that was in December of 2000. And I just started following the breadcrumbs that started showing up and taking that pathway. And again, got to that space where I could heal my body. And as my physical body started to heal, I started to realize the mental, emotional things and how everything is one. So I think that's a common thread in a lot of people that I've talked to. And I just wanted to point out that the people that you were mentioning were people from our biointegration workshop, and how that creates a life team and a support team for people who get and understand you. And if you're having a bad day, you have somebody that you can easily call up and connect with, that knows where you're at. And as I'm saying that, I want to draw more attention to that, because sometimes with my private clients, they come into the office, particularly women. Women can be very emotional, and we are raised in a society that doesn't teach us that our emotions are healthy, or that they don't actually have meaning potentially. We can go through a range of emotions as we're processing something that happened to us, only to get to the place where we're going to be. But if we stop in the middle and judge ourselves as, oh, I'm such a bad person for thinking that, then we get to move through that processing to get to the other side where we can actually be healthy. So I just wanted to, it's just an opportunity to share that. I've had women come into my office and they'd be like, so-and-so says that I'm going to have a mental breakdown because I shared this emotion with them. And I'm like, just stop for a minute. First of all, your emotions are all fine. And please don't share them with people that you don't feel safe around, that are going to judge you. That's also going to stop you in your process. And if you can let them out and share them with people, where you're safe, you're going to get to that place where all of those crazy emotions are going to stop, and you're going to feel healthy.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny you say that. Like, I have one person I can call, and I could say, yeah, today, I'm feeling this, insert violent, self-destructive feeling, whatever here. And he's like, yep. Yeah, and tomorrow you probably will have one of your best days in a month. He's like, every time you're having the worst day ever, you're right on the cusp of having the best day ever, I promise. And just for someone when I'm in that crazy space to remind me, today's really bad, but if you get some sleep, if you honor your body, if you honor those feelings, and if I like to grab this really weird tool that I found and try to do like self cranial sacral treatments, especially now that I'm in quarantine, and just really just focus on massaging my head, just focus on, kind of massaging different points on my skull, and my back of my neck is where I hold a lot of tension. Go to bed early, take a bath, whatever, and 95% of the time, the next day is like, it never happened. but if I call my mom, or if I post that on Facebook, or if I post that in one of my business groups, if I tell the wrong people, that's sacred. Those feelings are sacred. I publicize a lot vulnerably because of my business. I'm doing live videos all day, every day. But I think you deserve to keep a lot of those things very sacred for a very select group of people who understand your rhythms and who are able to tell you in a very loving way, it's okay to feel this way. You're going to feel better tomorrow, but if you don't, that's okay too.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that especially right now where, there's so much judgment and finger pointing going around where, this is the information, kind of like the Bible. So, the news is giving you the Bible, and this is what you need to think, and this is how you need to behave, and this is how you need to feel. So if you're
Right.
experiencing or questioning something, questioning what they're saying or experiencing something different, or having some agitation or whatever about any of that, people are in a really judgmental space. Like if you're doing something different, you're going to put everybody else at risk and blah, 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 blah. So I think we're in a really just really precarious situation where a lot of people are probably feeling a lot of emotions and a lot of vulnerability without a safe space to share that information and actually understand what all of those feelings mean. So I think that probably is a good lead into more about, what you learned, what your healing process was like, and how you've taken all of that information and created what you share with other people now.
It's actually funny because as you were talking, I thought I'm going to give them the 3-step formula to manifest. It's obviously only the tip of the iceberg. It's really only the tip of the iceberg, but if you know anything about manifestation, this is the only thing you've got to know right here. And the funny thing is this, in direct relation to what you said about, denying feelings or, not being honest with what you're feeling. And what I heard you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that people, they kind of spiritually bypass and they try to put positive thinking on it, and it's okay. And, just put a bunch of rose quartz in your bra and do a rain dance, pull a tarot card, put a smile on your face. You're going to be fine. You got to trust in the universe, and the universe wants everything to work out for you. And the obstacle is the way. So this is great. And one of my favorite teachers, his name is Brandon Hawk. He calls it impenetrable optimism. And he's like on a mission to destroy impenetrable optimism because he used to be this mega church pastor. He was, being bred to be the next Joel Osteen. He's since gone into more of the new age spirituality stuff. He got his hands on some Abraham Hicks and he was gone. Like, I'm out of here. But like a lot of us. And so he calls it impenetrable optimism, but that spiritual bypassing through impenetrable optimism was something that I was really suffering with. And then what my neuroplasticity or brain scientist teachers taught me is that spiritual bypassing and even optimism prevent us from manifestation. And so here's how. The first thing that you have to do in order to create a new reality is to be in honest awareness of your current reality. And the best way to do that is first to just sit back and realize 3 things. Number 1, I choose a new reality. Here's the reality I'm living in. This is all my choice. I take responsibility for this, But in taking personal responsibility for the things that don't work, as well as the things that are working, by not playing victim, you take back your personal power. One of the first things on every single application for my neuroplastic teacher, every single application, she has 3 questions, or she won't even do a discovery call with you. You could tell her, I'm going to pay you $1 million to heal my back. And she asks 3 questions. Do you choose to heal? Do you believe that you can heal? And do you give yourself permission to heal? And it's weird psychologically. And she has a bunch of worksheets, that she walks people through some exercises. But do you choose to heal? Do you believe that you can heal? And then do you give yourself permission? Because our old stories are serving us. They kept us safe. They got us here.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We're working off of old programs, beliefs, and the way that our bodies are behaving, our emotions, our thought processes are sometimes actually trying to protect us.
Exactly.
So you have the intention of wanting to heal, but if you don't actually feel like you deserve it or that you have permission to, you're going to be blocked. So, and I imagine that you're going to move into, if you when you get that question, do you give yourself permission to heal? If the answer is no, then there's a way to move through that so that you can actually get to the place where you can give yourself permission to heal.
The best way to do it is what's called KPE. It's an acronym that stands for kindness, patience, and encouragement. And now this sounds really woo and it sounds really flimsy, but there's a whole scientific reason why this helps take you from your sympathetic fight or flight state and into your parasympathetic state of calm awareness. And if you're in fight or flight, Dr. Bruce Lipton believes that 70% of our thoughts are negative. And he teaches that 95% of everything we do is coming from a subconscious program that we downloaded before the age of 7. And if you can just be honest, not bypass, but be honest and say, I have this limiting belief, this self-sabotaging behavior, this pattern, this habit, this negative thought, this hateful thought, this angry thought, this insecurity. Be honest with it. And that's the kindness part. Be kind to yourself and allow yourself to feel those things. The patience part is the process by which you simply say to yourself, and the system involves talking to yourself in the second person, which there's a whole scientific reason behind that, but saying you have permission to do this if it takes you 10,000 times. Because the minute you say, I don't care whether or not I heal, I just feel the joy or the happiness or the high vibration of the emotion of love or abundance right this minute, that's when you heal. So a lot of manifestation involves surrender. If you put your mind and your body into a state of relaxation where you say, if it takes me 10,000 attempts at my business or at moving my legs or at finding love, that's okay. I surrender because I am in the kindness and the self-love of this moment. So that's kindness, patience, and encouragement are the 3 things that actually prime your brain and create a fertile environment for neuroplasticity. So one of the best ways to prime your mind for neuroplasticity, same thing we do when we go into meditation, either first thing in the morning or last thing at night, just like Dr. Joe teaches. That's when your brain waves slow down. You can slow down your brain waves by taking deep breaths in through your nose and out through your nose right now. But really one of the best things to do is to make your body as heavy as humanly possible. If you're having a point or a situation or a moment where you're feeling fear thoughts, negative thoughts, stress, tension, anxiety, when you're in that fight or flight state, it's so important, if you have to do it 1,000 times a day, to breathe in and out through your nose, close your mouth, breathe in and out through your nose, which is stimulating that vagus nerve, that calming effect, and drop your body. And this comes from like a 4,000-year-old Chinese massage technique or something, but feeling like you're heavy as lead. And one of the things that my teachers and my mentors do is they actually, when they work with people, they work in a hot pool because you feel weightless. You feel like you're on a cloud. And that helps when you physically drop your body, you stop thinking so hard. and it puts your mind into a fertile state for more manifestation, which is really interesting. When you come into that calm state where you're being kind and patient and encouraging, or KPE, with yourself, when you come into that state of really loving surrender and present moment awareness, that's when you can really start rewiring the self-sabotaging thoughts and behaviors.
So many good points in there. And I just want to draw our attention, like the patience for sure, because we tend to be we want a quick fix, and we've been programmed. If there's something wrong with our bodies, we do this for it. And if it doesn't, if you don't feel the effects of it now, it's not working. So that you're broken and unfixable. And it doesn't allow us to get into that healing space. And then people adopt that, they take that into their heads, and then they believe that they're broken and unfixable, and they don't continue to pursue. Where healing can actually take a really long time. Healing can also happen very quickly and miraculously, depending on what you're applying and where your head's at, what modalities you're using. So I just think that's a really important thing. And then that patience as well, especially. I know I'm saying two patient things, one about taking the time, and I was thinking more about physical healing, but just from an emotional perspective too. Again, we get into that space where in our heads, our emotions are running wild. We're judging ourselves about the kind of person we are, what our emotions mean, and not allowing that to unfold and taking the time. And I went through something really, really difficult last year, and it has literally taken me 18 months to process through a whole series of emotions and thoughts and considerations about my entire life to get to the place where I am today, where all of it has been resolved in a way that I could never have imagined. So like this much gratitude and beauty that I couldn't have pictured during all of the pain I was going through as I moved through this. So I understand why people make decisions when they're in pain and they just want it to stop. But, sometimes it can take a really long time for things to move through, and it's the people that stick with that kind of thing and just like stay in your head about, I'm capable of healing this, even though this is what I want out of my life, and even though right now it looks like there's no possible way I can create, I'm going to hold on to somehow I can make this work. So like when you make that commitment to see it through, it has made a world of difference.
Yeah. And I love that you broke patience into two different like forms of patience, because, one of the new affirmation sets, I'm kind of an affirmation like slut. Like I love affirmations. And affirmations healed my relationship with my co-parent, which was that shocking, like amazing story from earlier. Affirmations made me love my body again. I destroyed it with eating disorders in my 20s. Affirmations have just transformed my life in such a huge way. And the second thing that your neurofunctional doctor would do with you is develop custom affirmations just for you. I mean, these people have 45 years of scientific research just from the CEO of the company studying neuroplasticity. And everything she does, she's not telling you about mirror neurons and neurodifferentiation and your reticular activating system. She doesn't use any scientific talk, but she makes it sound like kindergarten. This is Sesame Street. Manifestation and healing are so simple. But one of the simple, like stupid, easy things you can do to change your life, to change your money, to change your health, to change your happiness, to change even your love relationships is affirmations. And one of the affirmations I do right now is I'd say every 2 hours. And I just started this. This is like my weekly affirmation. I just 2 days ago started doing affirmations around healing my eyes, and I want to piggyback this whole present moment awareness thing, or being in the present moment, because it's really hard. It seems so esoteric to say, be here now, right? Be in the present moment. It sounds it's sort of hard to grasp. So an illustration of it is this. I'm looking at the leaves outside the window. I'm looking at the mountain on that side. I'm looking at the hillside over here. I'm looking at the pillows on my couch. I'm looking at this really detailed, like almost laser cut image in an end table that I really can't see very well right now. And I try to harness for my manifestation practice. I harness the feelings of joy in the moment. I'm creating my future reality instead of saying, I wish, I hope for these things. I say, I am. And every time you say, I am, you're commanding your body into a future reality. And so what I do is I look at, the cacti or the pillows or the end table or the mountain over there. And I say, I can see all the trees at the top of Mount Sopris. I can see every little sticker on that cactus. I can see every image in that amazing end table that's been laser cut with this lacy design. And I look at my pillows and I say, I love being able to see the imprint of my son's head on that pillow. I do not have 20/20 vision. I can't see any of that right now in the reality. But I just get so excited looking around my room and saying, yes, I am seeing everything clear as day. I can see the imprint of my son's head on that pillow from all the way across the house. I can see the details in the lace. I can see the trees on the top of the mountain. Do I need glasses to see that stuff? Absolutely.
Yeah, so I can see what you're saying as opposed to this is my intention.
Right. It's like a manifestation party.
And you're not just saying I have perfect vision or I heal this ongoing cornea thing that's been going on for you. It's like this is the experience. You're saying this is my experience and I'm experiencing it now, even though it's not your current reality.
My brain doesn't necessarily understand what 20/20 vision is. So what I like to do with my brain, our brain is a lot more simple than people realize. Your brain kind of thinks in images. And, actually, our subconscious minds are taking in up to 40 million pieces of data per second, and our conscious minds are taking in 40. So, everything that we are conscious of is, a very, 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 very small fraction of what our subconscious minds are taking in. And the best way to train your subconscious mind is to think in images. So when I manifest 20/20 vision, I don't say I'm going to have 20/20 vision. No, I give myself pictures that strike as many emotions as possible. Do you know why I want to see the trees on the top of Mount Sopris? Because that's where I go camping. You know why I want to see my son's head on the pillow? Because it sparks in me excitement about my son and how sweet his little head is. So when I manifest or when I visualize or when I heal my body, right now I'm determined to heal my eyes whenever God sees fit, patience. And I'm not just saying I want 20/20 vision, I want 20/20. I'm invoking sweet, yummy, juicy, delicious images and visualizations and emotions. And what that does, and if you've read any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff, a lot of what that visualization that I do with my affirmations accomplishes for me is it creates new neural networks, and it helps my brain to create new maps. And it forces my brain to change its physical structure to meet my emotions. My emotions, everything I feel in this present moment, really create my future reality. So your emotions are either in the past or they're in the future.
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit because I understand exactly what you're saying, but it might not be clear to someone who hasn't been exposed to how our nervous systems work and the concepts of neuroplasticity or neurowiring. So when we have these belief systems that, again, are usually unconscious, that we've downloaded or just have come into our lives from the way that we were raised, from our parents, our surroundings, then So those are our beliefs, and we're not often aware of what they are. And then our thoughts stem from them. So we're literally getting like physical messages from like that start with the belief system that control how we think. And the more that we think those thoughts, the more that pathway is established in your head. But science is showing us now is that we can actually break those patterns and change the way that we think. We can literally physically rewire those connections and how they work in our brain by shifting our belief systems. And it physically changes in our bodies.
Yes, and it takes a lot of repetition. I get so irritated when I read books like The Secret. And don't get me wrong, it's on my shelf, and the law of attraction is tremendous. I love the law of attraction. I love Abraham Hicks. I love all of that stuff. However, what is not sexy and doesn't sell these people as many books is the fact that the rewiring neural networks, it takes a lot of repetition. You know, crossing your fingers, stuffing your bra with crystals, it doesn't make checks show up in the mail. You know, it typically does not give you a miraculous instantaneous healing in your body. There are people who have dialed in their subconscious patterns that they are better manifestors. But for most of us just starting out on this manifestation journey, what happens is this. When you wake up in the morning, whether it's how you make your coffee, which hand you pour the pot, which way you drive to work, who you greet at work, the small talk you make, the first thing that comes out of your mouth, hey, how are you? Or, hey, man, how are you? Those are two different maps in your brain, right? The way you drive to work, different map. Which foot do you go up the stairs with? You know, first, that's a map in your brain. Everything you do is a map in your brain. It's like a water slide. When I say that it's a neural network, I mean that your thoughts, which are controlling your actions, whether they're subconscious or conscious thoughts, they're like on a water slide. You know, they're on autopilot. They're automatic. They're below conscious. They're subconscious. So everything you do, 95%, according to some experts, they're on these water slides, you know, they're on these paths. You have these maps in your brain. And the thing is, they have all been wired. And the neuroscientists, they say, you know, what fires together wires together. Creating an emotional experience will create a map, will create a behavior pattern, will create a belief system. Most of it you developed as a child. Traumatic experiences in adulthood or extremely high emotional experience in adulthood can create maps, but more or less, we're all wired one way, and we're basically robots. We're all living in the automatic programs. What you do in love, what you do in money, what you do in business, how you go to work, how you greet your friends, how you make your coffee, it's all wire. And so what frustrates me about The Secret is that it's physically impossible to become this incredible, abundant manifester overnight. You have to, physical structures in your brain have to change. And in order to do that, you repeat actions and behaviors and thought patterns over and over until they become subconscious. Programming your subconscious mind or below conscious or automatic programs and rewiring self-sabotaging behaviors, beliefs, patterns, networks requires a lot of conscious repetition and programming. And it's work. It is work. When people tell me they want to be a great manifester and they're like, well, I read The Secret. And, you know, I'm like, okay, so you spent 90 minutes working on manifestation. How's that working out for you? You know, and but what my neuroscience mentor, Susan, and I developed, and I'll be happy to give you all her number. You know, if like, God forbid, you're like, oh my God, I got to see what this woman's about. She's actually working with a friend of mine from college to heal her legs right now. She had polio as a child in an orphanage in India. And so it's really fun that friends from Chicago are now coming here to visit my neuroscience mentor. So we developed a 90-day program to help people just learn how to manifest. But at the beginning of the program, I'm saying, don't think you're going to manifest $1 million in 90 days. I'm just giving you the framework to change your brain. And I'm forcing you to wake up every single day and check off a list of manifestation practices to make this normal. But it doesn't sell The Secret, or other great books, to say, hey, you can be a great manifester. You can harness the law of attraction, but it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of neural networking and repetition. It's not going to happen overnight. Scientifically, it's work. It's work to reprogram and rewire things that we've been doing for years or decades.
Right. Yeah. So I'm thank you for myth busting that, because I know a lot of people paid a lot of attention to the Secret, and it was exciting and glamorous and sexy and great concepts, but like you said, it's a lot of work. For me, it feels like it's a tool that you access over the course of your lifetime that can literally change your entire life when you stay with it. But it's not going to be like this, oh, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to get some affirmations, and like you said, 90 days from now I'm going to have $1 million in my bank account.
Yeah.
What you can do when you work on reprogramming your brain will change your life in every way, depending on how you utilize it. Like, you utilized it for healing initially, but I'm sure you've done much more with it now. Like, I mean, you have a thriving business, and relationships have changed. So these kind of concepts can change everything. So you can utilize them in whatever way you want to. Usually when people get involved in any kind of a healing path or open their minds up to them, they may have the intention of starting with one thing and then begin to see the potential of what else they can use it for as they go along. And then, because that's what happened with me with my health journey. I was miserable in my own physical body, but as that started to heal, all the subconscious programming and the thoughts and things like that came to my attention, and I just wanted to keep going. So it became this whole expansive process. And I can imagine it's the same thing when you get involved in the neuroplasticity and the manifestation and the affirmations and things like that.
It's wild. When you were healing, did you feel like all kinds of programs came up that you were like, whoa, I'm already I'm already healing this pain? Did you feel like more stuff got drudged up in the midst of your healing process?
Yes and no. It was so exciting for me to be on the healing path that I think that my focus was, I was just so excited to be healing that when something came up for me, that was actually more exciting. Like, oh, something else to deal with that I can get through, But I know that, that can be a totally different experience for some people, where some kind of major trauma or something that they have can sneak up on them as they're going through a healing process or a self-growth process and really sidetrack them, and they feel like it's going to take them down. But, we both know people that have had significant traumas in their life and have moved through them and come over on the other side with great ease and grace and gratitude for not only the trauma, but the healing that they went through and what it's taught them and where they are on the other side of that. So I see people asking for that. I've been fortunate where most of the things that have come up for me have actually been positive and exciting. I would have to say that actually last year was the most difficult thing that I've been through from an emotional, mental perspective. So I am so grateful that I have the tools and I have the people in my life that I can talk to and that I can get on the phone with, because there's no way that I would have gotten, it would have the beautiful resolution and shift that it had without having those tools in place. So I think that's actually a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you was kind of in closing, we've been talking about things that can take a lot, like you said, it's not a quick fix, but miraculous potential that's built into that. But we're in a dire situation right now where a lot of people are really struggling with their mindset, struggling with fear. Clients that are having a lot of anxiety, even if they're not anxious about their own health or their own finances, being triggered by what's going on in the world. And I've certainly experienced that as well, having a lot of anxiety about what's going, what people are saying and how this is all going to unfold. And it's somebody else's energy, it's not mine. So what kind of things can you suggest that might start moving people in the right direction, where we're in this kind of much more urgent situation at the moment?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. I have so many tools that I use, so I'll just share with you the two easiest things that I do, really almost on a daily basis. I actually have a visual because I was just doing this with a friend. Let me find the right page. Yes, thank you. I was saying thank you to the universe. Because it's a big book and I flipped
Yeah,
to the right
you opened
page.
to the right page quickly.
You gotta be in that state of gratitude. And so here's what I've done in the midst of the coronavirus stuff. So 21 days ago, I went into a self-quarantine because my former husband has leukemia. And so he is immunocompromised. So even though I'm like today I ran, and there's not a lot of oxygen up here. I ran up to, close to 8,000 feet. And I was running fast as I could in the cold, air in the mountain where there's lower oxygen. I'm healthy, but my former husband is not. So I went into self-quarantine with no friends, no family. I've only got my kid here half the time. I'm not even seeing my partner, my lover, real strict. And so I have found, for me, the best thing that I can do to really keep my spirits high during this pretty isolating and somewhat scary time with coronavirus has been to keep a few critical reminders on my whiteboard. And so I won't need these for long, which is exciting. I inspire people to identify their own genius and exploit it in service of others. I'm just reading a couple things on my whiteboard. The obstacle is the way. What we feel, we attract. Just a couple little cute things on my whiteboard that's sitting next to my desk. And every time I look at it, the other thing I keep reading is millionaires are made during crashes. Like, we're going through an economic crash, whether you like it or not. And I have a solution that people are going to pay for, so I keep these really positive things in my head. The next thing that I believe in more strongly than anything, and it's going to sound kind of trite, but I really powerfully, passionately believe in the power of breathing. And when you are in when you're in your sympathetic nervous state, when you're in a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state, fawn meaning like people pleasing, and I'm nervous, and so I'm just trying to be please everyone around me, or be obsequious, or dim my own light. This is a phenomenon of fight or flight, or freeze, or fawn. Breathing in and out through your nose and laying on your back, just laying on your floor, spreading out, breathing in and out through your nose. There is an amazing teacher. Her name is Dr. Christiane Northrup. And she wrote Dodging Energy Vampires, which is the most poorly named book in the world because it's one of the best self-help books I've ever read. It's akin to Gary Zukav's philosophical, concise, just brilliance. It's a phenomenal book. And she said that she actually puts tape over her mouth when she's not breathing in and out through her nose. The calming effects of breathing in and out through your nose cannot be overstated. Put tape over your mouth when you sleep. You're going to get better sleep. You're going to feel more calm. It's going to shift you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous state. And during this coronavirus thing, I want to tell you one of the most important things you'll hear all day. If you're worried about your health right now, and Elaine, I know you probably, teach this to your clients, fundamentally, that when you're thinking negative thoughts or fearful thoughts, or when you're watching images on the news, because remember what I said, your brain is really thinking in pictures. That's why we have vision boards, right? So here's the thing. When you're in a fearful thought, stress, tension, anxiety, when you're watching scary movies or images or documentaries, what happens is your brain does not know that that is not the real world. So you have to force your brain to see the future reality that you want. And what's really interesting is Dr. Lipton, I mentioned earlier, said that 70% of our thoughts are negative in his experience. And he's been full-time in epigenetics since I think 1965. And he says that 70% of our thoughts are negative. So it's really, really critical that we get out of the negative loops, the negative thought patterns. The easiest way to do that is breathing in and out through your nose. But as it relates to coronavirus, what's really interesting is that when we are in that state of fight or flight, 60%, maybe more, of our non-vital functions turn off. And that's because when you're feeling anxiety, could I get coronavirus? Did I touch the door handle? Oh my God, I forgot to wear my mask and I ran out to get the mail and the mailman, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. When you're in this loop of fearful or negative thoughts and your body feels like there's a threat, your non-vital functions turn off. It decreases your immunity so profoundly. It's a lot of the reason why people don't go to the bathroom, don't have good bowel movements, is because going potty is not critical when there's a tiger. If 70% of your thoughts are, oh my God, there's a tiger. Oh my God, there's a tiger. Your body's not functioning. You're not healing. You're not learning, and you're not growing.
Right.
So if you really want to protect yourself from coronavirus, you got to get out of the negative thoughts. It's the best thing you can do for your immunity. Scientifically proven.
Yeah, that's kind of like the homework that I've been giving everybody, even people who don't have their lifestyle pieces dialed in, like their nutrition's not as great as it could be or whatnot. Everybody's homework, since the beginning of the year, because I've been seeing a massive amount of viruses since just after Christmas, has been upping your self-care, getting extra rest, and rest is different than sleep, getting plenty of sleep and good quality, and then dialing in your nutrition as best as you can, your hydration, all of that, turning off the news, like the self-care is prime. And it's for exactly what you said. When your sympathetic nervous system is active, you're not in sympathetic mode, parasympathetic mode, which is your healing, digesting, fighting microbes. So the scenario that is happening around us right now is actually the worst thing for our bodies for staying immune or protective, because it's suppressing the immune system and your body's not breaking down tissues. So the tissues are compromised, which is a perfect breeding ground for viruses. So it makes everything so much worse. So I second that. That's really great advice. And also, just going back to people, if we can shift out of being caught up in the moment and responding to the crisis or trying to stay plugged into the crisis, everybody likes to stay informed and know what's going on. But at this point in time, we just have to kind of wait it out. A lot of this is out of our hands, and a lot of people have more time on their hands right now. So if you can shift your body into that parasympathetic healing, resting, and start thinking about the future, what have I dreamed about my entire life that I really want to start manifesting or planning right now, and start thinking about those things and moving into that healing space or that planning state, because again, it's going to be different when we recover, but the world is still going to be there, and some things could, be never recover and be the same. But if you've had that trip on I've had an African safari on my bucket list for 30 years, and I already have the intention of going next year. But, if I have extra time, I can start actually sitting down with guidebooks and actually physically planning those kind of things out. So doing the vision board, like what you just revealed behind your wall hanging, those are all really great ideas, like thinking and planning for the future and visioning.
Yeah.
Really great thing.
And so the page that I turned to in the book, ironically, is when you sit down and you look at your African safari pictures and you're starting to do your vision board for your African safari. The other thing I recommend people doing is don't focus so much Do the vision board. I love vision boards. I love mind movies. You know, I love doing scavenger hunts with my reticular activation system, which is really fun to do with kids, by the way. But the other thing that I love is simply a feelings manifestation worksheet. So on one side, just simply write what I'm feeling today in this present moment, and then what I want to feel. It's so, so simple. What I'm feeling versus what I want to feel. And I love to create affirmations, of course, around what I want to feel. So a week ago, someone betrayed me. They stole a bunch of my time. I felt abandoned. It was a friend. I trusted her, yada, yada. And I wrote down everything I felt. Oh, she's a liar. She's a user. She's an abuser. She's a narcissist. I just was real with all those feelings. Then on the other side, I wrote down, people are scared right now. People are worried about their money. You know, this person has given me so much wisdom. This person has been my teacher. I hold her in a place of gratitude. If our relationship has come to its course, I am going to take every insight and gem of wisdom she ever gave me in that relationship and let it go with love. You know, and I wrote down on the opposite side all the new feelings. And if you're sitting down with a bunch of time on your hands, it could be fun, you know, once or twice a day to do one of these feelings worksheets. Just take a piece of paper, split it down the middle, write down the thoughts that you can identify that are negative, and on the other side, what you want to feel, and tether it to love and gratitude and non-attachment and the highest vibration stuff. If you don't know what the highest vibration stuff is, Dr. David Hawkins' Power versus Force, you can find the entire scale of consciousness online. People have put, you know, hundreds and thousands of things that he has calibrated through his muscle testing methodology, which is another rabbit trail. But if you don't know what's a high vibration, if you need some ideas, just go look up Dr. David Hawkins. Power versus Force is the original book. And just align yourself with that high vibration stuff. And really, above all, just don't watch Fox News and CNN. You're going to hear the information you need by headlines. You know, the only news source I go to is the Aspen Times. They write one article a day. They're going to tell me exactly what I need to know in one article a day. I'm not watching the news. I don't own a TV. I will not allow the mass media images to come into my brain because I think in pictures. We all do. So I'm not going to watch pictures of refrigerated trucks with come on.
Right. No way. Yeah. And I love that exercise that you shared. That was really powerful on how you were able to reframe a situation that appeared to be a personal attack or a personal betrayal. Mm-hmm. And maybe reacting to the fear that's going around right now, and then move into gratitude for all the things that you have gained from that relationship, whether or not it recovers. So yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful. I think we've probably given people some really, really good things to think about. And